Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
no.
There was definitely a lot of shouting and hand waving, if not hand throwing, going on in that trash bin.
This first story is coming from a maintenance supervisor. The motor for one of their big mixers broke down and there wasn't another one in stock. They had to order one, rush shipping. It was the second time this exact same thing had happened in about 3 to 6 months. And the manager was all ready. They had the contractors on site. They had assets shut down. The truck comes around the corner. And instead of a 3-foot motor they're expecting, it's this massive 20-foot, 25-foot motor.
Oh
That's quite a mix-up.
man, I would hate to be the guy waiting on that 20-foot motor. Oh man, no emergency stock. This has happened before. You're asking for trouble at this point.
You should have a PM in place to at least inspect it every couple of weeks if it's failing that often.
Put yourself in that person's shoes. The truck comes around the corner. What goes through your mind?
And if that's your project, you're getting laughed at a little bit.
Did I sign off on that purchase order?
And I'd be on the phone to the vendor before the guy even stopped the truck. Stop the clock on as many of those contractors and start thinking about what you're going to do to make up your production gaps.
Whether it could be prevented from, doing some vibration analysis and making sure that motor's in spec, or just, understanding the failure rates on those things and swap that out every 6 months.
Anytime something is rushed, it's going to create an opportunity for a mistake.
So this story is from a maintenance manager. Before they came into that role as the maintenance manager, there was a revolving door of managers. There was sort of a constant shift in strategies, especially when it came to parts and how they managed their parts. No one would buy new parts. They would use old parts, Frankensteining of parts, hoarding of parts. This person comes into the position and starts doing some storeroom cleanup. People were not happy about this. The maintenance manager would physically get in the giant trash bin that they had with people to argue about what parts to keep.
So many issues there. What's your rebuild process? Who's cleaning those? Who's inspecting them? How do you know they're suitable for replacement?
Sometimes it's hard to let those things go because they want to get things fixed as quickly as possible. Inventory that's sitting in the warehouse is space that's taken up, and in a lot of cases it's cash on the shelf.
When people have to change directions every 6 to 12 months, that's really a struggle.
Picture yourself in that giant trash bin arguing with the technician. How do you make your case?
Very, very robustly. There should be data on both ends. Should be data to say why we should throw this out or why we should keep it. Better yet, I would get their buy-in on that strategy long before you're arguing in a trash bin.
Do we need this? Show me the piece of equipment where this is critical.
I would always default to just facts and data. I can show you a record from my CMMS. We have not consumed this part for 3 years.
People don't think about these things as having a shelf life when the reality is they do.
You might think that you have what you need because it's sitting on the shelf there and it's been there 10 or 20 years, like you're saying, and it might not work. It's kind of impressive, the ingenuity of some of those maintenance techs that can put together a Frankenstein, but a lot of times those things are temporary.
This is the last story. This person was in a facility on a Saturday. They had a big piece of equipment to do some preventive maintenance on. They noticed on another part of the machine, a piece that was not working. They didn't have the part in stock, and they normally just order it, but it was a Saturday, so everything was closed. They got in touch with the vendor's vendor, which just happened to have a few people there on a Saturday. So this guy had to drive 30 minutes away, meet the vendor, get the part, and then come back.
That's brutal. That company is lucky that guy was there and looking.
That's part of the stress of the job. I've heard of people having to fly entire crews to other countries to make spare parts because that production has to happen.
When you first notice it, what's going through your head?
Text the wife and tell her you're not making dinner.
Not going to make it home for dinner. You're just thinking about what do I need to do to get this thing able to run on Monday?
What's the greatest length you've ever gone through to get that one part?
We found a replacement part in Tennessee. Coming from Ontario, Canada, that's not ideal. We got a contractor to drive halfway, pick up the part, put the part in the back of a cab and send him north. Call this number when you get around this city and we should be close by.
The cost of a $500 taxi seems insane until you realize the cost of downtime is usually in the thousands of dollars a minute.
Thanks for tuning into this edition of Fiixers React. If you don't want to find yourself in an inventory horror story, check out Fiix's Parts Forecaster tool. It uses the data that you have to forecast what parts you'll need and how many you'll need, so you can stop spending too much and stocking out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.